Hey guys, Ukrainian Man 23 here again. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. It's a little dreary and rainy here today, but it's warm and dry in my apartment, which is what I've kind of been confined to now in light of the quarantine. So yeah, I'm getting to experience what it's like to be under house arrest to a degree. Ha ha ha. But I realize you all have much the same situation in Ukraine, in America, or wherever you are at this time. So wanted to just give you something as an entertainment option for while you're on lockdown. So I'm excited to announce that I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel about life in Ukraine, where I actually will have interviews with Ukrainians just on various topics, various aspects of life here. So if at any point you have something that you'd like to see a video on, you're curious about an aspect of life here in Ukraine, please go ahead, post a comment about that, ask any questions you have, and I'll see what I can do to answer them or create videos centered around them. But for today, I'm excited to introduce to you.
Hi, my name is Katya Solovyova. I'm 11th grader.
She is a 11th grade student here in Chernivtsi, and she is going to share a little bit about what life is like for them. So Kate has kindly agreed to come and share some information on student life here in Ukraine, both for her and just for what it's like for a general student of Ukraine. And as you could already tell, she speaks very good English. So you can go ahead and take that stereotype of Ukrainians not wanting to learn English and throw it out the window, because I can tell you firsthand it is definitely not true. So obviously, we are well aware of how schools are run in America. You go in on any given day, you have anywhere from 5 to 6 classes in a day with different teachers centered around different subjects that you're forced to take until you get to college. You can actually choose what you want to do then. So a basic school day in America, Kate, is student will go in and they will spend anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour probably in a class. Usually it's just them sitting there. The teacher will get up, lecture them on a certain topic. They might ask them to do, like if it's a science class, they might ask them to do an experiment of some kind, or they might ask them to share some information or get up, read a report or a piece or a paper they wrote. But for you, what does a basic school day look like for a Ukrainian student, would you say?
School starts at 8:30, and we have 6 or 7. Sometimes we have 8 classes. And for example, Monday starts from history class, and I go to the particular classroom, and there is our teacher, history teacher. I see my ordinary classmates that I see every day. And we just have 45 minutes lesson, and we listening to the lecture, and sometimes teachers ask questions about the topic. What about history? After we heard a topic, we need to answer her questions. And in another lesson from history, we have some tasks that we need to know the subject and tell the teacher what the subject about, to answer her questions and questions of others. And it's like our job in the history class. So it's like in Monday. Also, in Monday we have 6 classes, and after 2 classes of history, we have chemistry, 2 classes of chemistry, and I don't like chemistry.
I was never a fan of it either, I understand.
And we listen to her lecture and also answer her questions. There's only the good students answer her questions because they know the answers, but students as me, just sitting there and thinking about life. Yeah, so it's our then it's physical education. We also do nothing for physical education, just sitting there in our dressing room.
Okay.
Um,
So like with physical education, we call that PE in America.
PE, yeah.
And obviously, that involves getting out, running, doing different things. Do you do any physical exercise for PE, or as you said, is it just sitting in the dressing room?
When we were younger, we were running and like there's small warm up.
Okay.
But now when it's like high school students, they do nothing. They sit in dressing rooms, and when it's like warm weather, we're sitting at the streets. So I can
So
like
physical education involves sitting.
yeah, just sitting.
Got it. So, hey, can't beat that, right? You go for exercise and you get to just sit and relax the whole time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In America, they make us run track or play sports. So,
Oh.
so is the mentality with that when you get to be a high school student? It's just, who cares about exercise anymore?
Yeah.
We'd rather exercise their brains.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. So something else, Kate, that was very popular in America is teachers like to give out homework assignments. Now, do you get homework in Ukraine as well? Things you have to take home in order to do later to turn
Yes.
into them?
Yes.
And what is a homework assignment like typically? Like in America, we usually have to like write a paper, or like if it's a math class, we get 50 problems we have to figure out at home and take back to the teacher. What is it like for you?
So if you talk about math,
No, just any topic.
like about
Any topic.
math.
Okay,
So
sure.
there is a book, like our book for math, and there is some exercises, and sometimes teachers like asks us to do these exercises. Like for example, 5 exercises we need to solve, and
Okay.
that's our homework. If to talk about about physics, sometimes he asks us to make a presentation, and we going in front of the class and reading our papers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. It's pretty much what we would do as well. How big are the classes usually? How many classmates do you usually have in a class?
I have my classmates since first grade,
No, like how many?
and
Like,
there were 30 students, but now it's 23.
okay. Cool. And this is something too I found interesting that another teacher told me about. I want to ask you if this is true, Kate. Where like you have a teacher in first grade. Is it true then that that teacher will follow you all the way until you graduate? Okay, that's a special case then, huh?
No, you had a teacher in the first grade, and this teacher is leaving you when you're at fourth grade.
Okay.
So you have new teacher in 5th grade, and there is a decision, like a choice in 9th grade. If you decided in 9th grade to leave school, you leave school.
Right.
But if you decided to stay at school, your teacher can change. If you are like, there's can be word like letters for every class. My letter is A. But students from letter B, they can transfer to letter A. So their teacher will change to our teacher. So when I was in 9th grade, some students from B class transferred to our class. So I had a new classmates.
Awesome. Thank you. So then, do you have a favorite class at school?
Yeah, I have.
And what is it?
It's Ukrainian language. Even if our teacher is not the best teacher, but still I love Ukrainian language and literature because I don't know. I love Ukrainian literature because still, even if some stories are stupid, still I love this subject.
What is one of the most famous stories in Ukrainian literature?
About war and battles and about warriors, Ukrainian warriors, Kozaki.
Okay. Oh, the Cossacks?
The Cossacks.
Yes. Yes, I actually took some Ukrainian history, so I know a little bit about that. No expert like Kate is here, but so as you've, like I said, heard, Kate speaks very good English, despite being a Ukrainian. So Kate, how long have you been speaking English?
I started learning English 4 or 5 years ago, and thanks to my tutor and Iwe.
Yes, she's one of our Iwe students also.
Yeah, I learned it to this level, but I'm not still good at it, I think, but I'm trying my best.
She's being very modest. She's incredibly good. So She's in our advanced class and probably could be a step above that if we have a level above advanced. So you mentioned that a tutor for English. Now, something else that Kate does, despite her just classes at school, is she also does some individual tutoring sessions. So how do those work, Kate?
So I have three tutors. It's from history, Ukrainian language and literature, and English. Tutor is your personal teacher, so he teaches only you, like for an hour or 2 hours, and you just pay money for this. So the tutor is preparing you for exams, or he is improving your knowledge on particular subject. So for example, if you don't know math, you can get a math
Like
tutor. You can get a math tutor and your math can be improved. So it's like, yeah, and it's not so cheap, so but still it helps us a lot.
And then how often do you meet with these tutors in a week?
So with English tutor I meet twice a week. With Ukrainian tutor I meet once a week, and with history tutor I don't know.
Okay.
She's now in Germany, so I can't say.
And obviously right now, as I mentioned in my last video, Ukraine is under quarantine because of this whole coronavirus freak out. And one of the aspects of that is schools are closed. So Kate, right now, trying to think, how long has the school been closed at this point?
4 weeks, I think.
Okay. So obviously you're not doing classes like you normally would. Do you still have your tutoring sessions during quarantine?
Yes, I have English and Ukrainian tutoring at their house.
Okay. And then you were telling me this earlier, but you said that the teachers do some kind of online classes with you. How does that work?
So we have a group in Viber. So our teachers send us videos, online videos, and we need like to watch them and do exercises that they are like asked us to do. So there is a lot of homework, and we have a website of our school, and there is like a list of homework we need to do. And there is a lot of homework, a lot of exercise. Like for example, if I have English class, we have only one exercise, but now we have 4 exercises to do. And also we do online tests and watching videos, and that's it. Yeah, it's like our online lectures. And some students are also doing like Skype videos with their teacher, so they can study like that.
Perfect. So as you can see, quarantine or no quarantine, education does not stop in Ukraine. It keeps going. So while all of you in America there are freaking out about having your kids at home for the next 4 weeks and wondering what you're going to do, there are other options. You see, people are making it work here. And teachers are not giving up. They're not throwing in the towel. And these students are also, from what I can tell, very self-motivated themselves. So they're got the drive to want to do well. So they're working hard by themselves to make sure they don't waste this time that they have. So Kate mentioned at the beginning of the video that she's in 11th grade. And that's very significant in Ukraine. And why is that, Kate? What happens after 11th grade?
So after 11th grade, you have a choice to enter the university or do nothing in your life. So after 11th grade, you have your typical graduation. It's like getting your diploma.
Well, can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
So she mentioned that she's getting ready to graduate, but she's only in 11th grade. Now, that may be a little confusing because I know in America we're used to graduating at the end of 12th grade. But Ukrainians' education level is much higher than ours. From what I've seen, they're much more intelligent than most 12th graders even. So by the time they get to 11th grade, they're ready for college. They're ready to graduate. They're ready to move on. So schools just say, why not let them go, you know? And so Kate is getting ready to go through that herself. And she'll have the decision, as she said, to either graduate and do nothing, go home and sleep, on her couch, or she can go on to university. And what would you say most students choose in that situation?
Um, every student choose to go to the university because if you choose do nothing, you can, of course, you can find a job, but this job will be not so pay, like, I don't know, it will be a bad job, like cashier,
Yeah,
cashier, and
flipping burgers.
yeah, yeah,
It's the kind of jobs I've had.
yeah, and like doing nails and stuff,
Yeah, I couldn't imagine myself
and
doing that.
yeah.
Brew.
So, but a lot of students just want to get a better life, so they enter the university. But I think that university is not that important. But still, I wanted to get a good knowledge from it.
Just imagine how much better off we might be as a nation if more of us had this mentality. College rates are at an all-time low in America, and here are these students, understanding the importance of it.
You know what? Actually, there is like a lot of students enter the university, like law students. There's a lot of law students want to be study law, and our government think that there's a lot of like who wants to enter the university. There's a lot of like clever people, and they want to like reduce this amount of students so they can work in worse works like plumbers.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of students want like to get a better life, so they enter the university. But government wants to have like more these typical jobs like plumbers,
Electricians. Yeah.
electricians,
Good job.
and with like that. And it's I don't know why our nation wants to study this so much law and also medicine, and I don't know like why we can end school at ninth grade, so when we are 14, and go to the college, and we can study these typical jobs like electrician and this stuff, but we don't do that a lot. Like some students do because they don't want to continue their school life, but a lot of students just continue and enter the university, and there's a lot of like these high qualified people, and a lot of small amount of these typical jobs there is like needed or that is important.
So most students your age, what would you say are some of the most common jobs they're hoping to get entering the university?
As I said, it's law. Like
Law.
it's the first, like the main what students want to do. A second, it's like I know how to call it in English. It's like deal with other countries.
Yeah.
Another is philology.
Yeah. Study of languages.
Yeah. Medicine. Psychology.
Yeah.
Philosophy.
Ambassador is the word you were looking for as far as communication with different countries. So
ambassadors.
yes. So you see a lot of people. There's a lot of like big level jobs that a lot of them have their sights set on entering into college. So as you can see, Ukrainians tend to be very ambitious when they really do want to better themselves. They're, like I said, they're incredibly well educated by the time they get to university. Kate is living proof of that. She's only 16 years old, but when I first met her and I had a conversation with her, I was like, oh, she's got to be at least 21 or so or whatnot, just because Ukrainians all have, like I said, very intelligent. You can sit down, have a conversation here with somebody who's 8 years younger than you, and they're doing a pretty good job keeping up with you mentally. And I was just blown away by that because, I have a conversation with 16-year-old or 17-year-old in America, and it's like I'm talking to a kid at the time, Here, it's like I'm talking to another adult almost. So that's something that's really impressed me and just, again, shown me how good the education system is here in Ukraine. And so with that, though, something else that I have found that's very unique and kind of different about the way Ukrainian education system runs is they have what are called specialty schools set up for different topics here. One is called Gymnasium 7, and In fact, me and some of the other missionaries, we've gone a couple of times. We've spoken to people there because the whole big idea of that school is to try to educate students in English, try to educate students on American history. They're taught other topics, but the main one that's focused on is English. Kate, though, she goes to a different school. And Kate, you mentioned to me earlier that this school also has a pretty big focus as far as one major topic they want to make sure that all their students understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that major focus?
It's in math. We are math and physics school.
So then, with that, do you still get all the other topics like history, literature, science?
Yeah, our specialization is math. We have a lot of lessons from math, like 11 or 12 lessons for math, and we have a little amount of time for others, but still we get there because we need them also.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ukrainian language is important one, and yeah, and it's supposed to know math after the graduation of my school, but some students decide just to not to learn math and just sitting there and thinking about their stuff.
Thinking about life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We've all done it, folks. Don't judge.
There's a lot of math teachers in my school. If I have only three teachers from history and like 4 or 5 teachers from math.
Mm-hmm.
I have only 3 teachers from Ukrainian language and as I said from math more. So yeah, and classrooms for math is also more than other classes.
So would you say your school differs from just like a regular Ukrainian school, or is it pretty similar?
It's pretty similar to other school, but because we have a specialization, so we have only like our main subject is math. But if to talk about gymnasiums, they're like elite schools.
Elite schools?
Yeah.
How so?
And Gymnasium 7 is English school, so their main subject is English.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we are different from each other.
So how would you say a gymnasium differs from a regular school then?
So as I said, it's a elite school, and it's more like stronger school. There's more like stronger studies.
Mm-hmm.
Like a student must know this subject good. Like students from gymnasiums and must know English perfectly. So in my school, there is no like this stronger. We don't have to know math perfectly. It's just our main subject. That if you want, you learn it, but still, it's your main subject, so you will suffer in it.
Amen. We all know what that's like, right? And here, though, she doesn't have a choice. She has to take it because it's the main subject the school focuses on, so they're going to do all they can to make sure she understands it. And she's going to have to just sit there and suffer through it. But the thing about Ukrainians is they don't complain. They grin and bear it. You know, we'd go and threaten to sue a teacher if they forced us to do something we didn't want to do. But again, I'm just impressed by the resolve that Ukrainian students have, and when it's in a subject they absolutely hate. I don't know what I would do if I was in her situation because I was terrible at math. So probably would at one point just have thrown down my pen and say, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. But that's probably not an option, is it, Kate?
No.
No. Or if it is, the teacher probably won't be very happy with it.
Yeah.
Because I know you mentioned to me the mentality of the teacher is if you don't get this stuff, there's something wrong with you. So,
yeah. No.
So Kate is specializing in math and physics, but you don't really want to do anything with that in the future, do you?
Yeah. I don't know.
No. So what are you hoping to do once you graduate and once you finish university?
I want to study Chinese language. I want to be translator from Chinese language, so it's nothing to do with math.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I wanted to live in China and meet new people in China, to know their culture and history, and that's I'm really fond of it. Yeah. So.
And she's going to help prevent another coronavirus from spreading there
too.
So yes, as you can see, again, very ambitious. She mentioned she wants to be a translator of Chinese language. So do you speak Chinese then, Kate? Or?
I will learn it in university.
Okay.
I know there will be subjects like language, Chinese language, Chinese history, Chinese culture, and others like.
So even though Kate can't speak Chinese now, she can speak several different languages. So, Kate, how many languages do you know how to speak?
3.
Okay, and what are those 3?
Ukrainian, Russian, and English.
So, most Ukrainians, for the most part, would you say, Kate, are able to speak both Russian and Ukrainian fluently by the time they're your age?
Yeah.
So, but yet most Russians can't speak Ukrainian. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
So therefore, Ukrainians are smarter than Russians. If there are any Russians watching my channel, I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry. So, do you find those languages to be rather similar to each other, or is one easier than the other?
Right now, Ukrainian is really changing because of the war, but we had some similar words. For example, friend. It sounds similar in Russian and Ukrainian, but Russians still don't get our language. Also, because we know Ukrainian, we can understand Belarusi language. It's a really easy language, and so we also can understand Polish a little bit.
So 16 years old, she speaks 3 different languages. We struggle to understand what British people are saying to us sometimes, even though they're speaking the same language as us. So again, it just shows you how amazing the educational system is and just how intelligent these students are. I tried learning some Ukrainian before I came here, and I've tried learning some since being here. And while I know a few words and phrases, I'm certainly not fluent. And I know one language, and I don't even know that fluently, probably, honestly, when it comes to English. And yet here is Kate at 16 and already can speak 3 different languages. I mean, just very, very impressive stuff. So I know that stereotype exists in America about Ukrainians not wanting to study English or not needing to learn English. Yeah, that's not true. Now, I will say this in fairness, that may have been the case with the older generations of Ukrainians, because there was not nearly, at that point, there was not really a reason to learn English. They were trapped in their country pretty much. Times were really tough. But don't judge. I mean, goodness, would we say learning Ukrainian is a priority in America? No, obviously not. So, but now I think that's beginning to change. And because I see more people, especially around Kate's age, that are really serious about wanting to learn English. Most of our advanced students are either teenagers or early 20-year-old students. So, Kate, what would you say is the main motivation for people to want to learn English here now?
A lot of students want to move to another countries to study because they don't like education in Ukraine. And they want to new life in another country, so they need English for that. But my main motivation was trying to understand English videos on YouTube.
Simple motivation, but hey, it worked. Look how good she is now. So yeah, for some, as Kate said, it's simply just wanting to understand American films or American movies. Because I imagine if you go watch a movie in the theater here, is it in Ukrainian or is it in Russian?
In Ukrainian, because we live in Ukraine.
Now, I do notice you guys do get a lot of American-made movies here in Ukraine. I have not been brave enough yet to go and watch one, but I'm considering doing so before I leave because I imagine it's probably been dubbed over, hasn't it? They replaced the American voice with some dub track of Ukrainian language.
There's you don't hear English language. You hear only Ukrainian language.
And so what I mean by dubbed is, so obviously the movie was not originally made in Ukraine. It was made in English.
Yeah.
So you're not actually hearing the actors' voices.
No,
you're hearing just some
you
other
hear
person.
Translation.
Yeah. So does the movie still work, or is it really awkward? Do the lips not match up or anything?
No, it's match up.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I asked, there was one time my family and I we got some movie that was originally in French or Spanish. I think it was French. And they had the option you could watch it dubbed over in English. Oh my goodness, was that terrible? Literally, you had voices that there's no way they should have been coming out of the character or whatnot. There was one guy, he was this big, bearded guy, should have had a really deep voice. He had the highest voice of any guy I think I've ever heard. I mean, it was just, lips never matched up. It was terrible. So, but it sounds like they figured out a way to fix that here. But For a lot of Ukrainians, like she said, they want to learn English in order to be able to watch American movies. Is that just because American movies are popular here and it's not always easy to get them in the Ukrainian language?
No, it's easy to get them in Ukrainian and in Russian. So, but still, to practice your English, to practice your listening, it's also important for exams. And I also want to listen to original sounds because sometimes it's really not comfortable to listen to Ukrainian sounds and Russian. So I love watching in original. Yeah, but I don't get sometimes accent for me. It's
Sure.
hard to understand, so I need subtitles.
I was going to say, do you still watch them with the subtitles?
But I watch them with English subtitles, so I can read in English.
Yeah. See, that's more than we'd be able to do. I can imagine trying to watch a Ukrainian movie with English subtitles. We'd still be like, what in the world?
Don't watch Ukrainian movies.
So, as you see from what Kate said, anything English related can be used as a practice method for exams, for studying. So Kate has got some big exams coming up here before she can graduate. Regardless of the quarantine, those exams are going to happen. That's not a question. So, Kate, you mentioned you have what, 2 exams coming up that are 3 exams. And what kind of exams are those?
So the main exam is Ukrainian language and literature is in the end of May. It's grammar, reading, and essay, and it's typical tests. It's like for 2 hours you need to solve them, and that's it. It's your test. You're just coming there, and there's instructor who tells you what to do. How to write on a piece of paper, what your amount of time, and also there is this policemen who are checking you if you have a phone with you or tips or something that you can look for an answer.
So they crack down on cheating in Ukraine.
Yeah. So if a person was detected by this detector, so he lost his chance, and in a year he needs to retake the exam.
And I want to focus on what you just said there. These exams mean an awful lot for these students that are taking them. You know, she said if a student gets caught with any one of those things, he's automatically failed, and he has to wait a whole year before he can take the exam again. Can he start university at that time if he hasn't passed the exam?
No, he needs to pass the exam.
You see, we have the ACTs or the SATs in America, and obviously, you know, we take those, we send those to colleges, and they look at them, but they don't ultimately determine whether or not we can even go to a college. Yes, they might affect what school we can get into, but normally there are still options even for those that don't do well in the ACT. Here with these students, if they don't do well on their exam, they have to wait a whole year. They can't start at university. They have to pass these exams. So there's a lot riding on them. So you can understand why they're so serious about this, why this is a very nervous thing for them, because they know what's riding on these exams. So they know they can't just, you know, put in a half-hearted effort for this. They really need to work hard to make sure they're ready and prepared to take this exam, because a lot of how their future is going to be shaped is going to hinge on these 2 exams. So what do you have to get for a score in order to pass these exams, Kate?
It depends on the university you go. So we have 200 is the biggest score, and if you get the score, you will enter any university you want. So there is a limit. You can if you took your exam to like 120. And your limit is like 124 for this exam, you didn't pass the exam. So actually these limits are so small, like 115. You get 100 from the start. And yeah, it's from the start. And then you get your points by your answers in your paper sheet.
Perfect. So how does this exam set up? Like you go in, you said there's a piece of paper. What are the questions like on that exam?
So if you talk like a particular subject, for example, it's English. So there is 58 questions, and the last question is essay. You need to write an essay. And also there's listening, like 17 questions is listening, and other questions is reading and grammar. So you have 2 hours to answer all them, and then you can go.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't finish within 2 hours, like if you have some questions you have not gotten the answer, they just count those as wrong then.
And they just take your paper and you didn't finish them.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, as you can see, these exams are a big deal here. So there's a lot riding on them. But so Kate's working very hard right now to make sure that even with quarantine, with schools closed, that she's still going to be prepared for those exams come. Because believe me, I can tell she wants to graduate.
Yes, that's true.
She's ready for that. Something else I just thought of, Kate. When you guys graduate here, now graduation in America from high school is a huge deal. They throw a big party, invite family members and friends to come. Do you guys do anything fun for graduation here?
Yes.
Right.
I don't think so, but some of schools do.
Okay.
So we have the last bell, and in the last bell we are dancing waltz.
A waltz?
Yeah, waltz. And
see, they don't have a party
so
here.
Beautiful. Also, we're singing songs about school, how we will be missing them and this stuff. And
do you really mean that though? You'll be missing them?
No, we just singing.
Right.
Yes. Then we're standing like in front of a big bunch of students from all over the school, and the director, principal says something, and we're standing there for 1 hour. That's so funny. And then after like a few weeks, we get our last it's not a performance, like you get to your school and people, like the principal gives your diploma that you ended school, you finished school, and you can go freely to the new world.
A whole new world. So when will you officially graduate then? When is your final bell?
In 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
And will that still stand with the quarantine in place? Or?
No, quarantine will continue, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. But the hope is 2 months from now, Kate will be done with high school. So too, with the party, a lot of times what we'll do in America is, despite the graduation party we have at school, they put on an individual party.
Yeah,
do you do something like that too?
Yeah, individual parties. Like we can go to the restaurant and have a meal with parents, with teachers. And see, like being there at this party till 4 a.m.
Like I said, they don't have a party.
Yeah, but now some students don't like that. Like me, I don't like that. So we want to go to abroad, like a tour, but go. I don't know how it will work because of quarantine.
Where would you be looking to go abroad if you could?
I like near countries. It's like we thought about. I don't remember Czech
Republic. Yeah.
Yeah, Czech Republic.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that country.
Yeah, Poland. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, all countries that are close by. So.
Yeah.
Now, of course, for Kate, her life is not all books, exams, papers, study. It's a big part of it. But what do you like to do for fun, Kate, when you're not having to study?
I like to hang out with my friends. It's the interesting part because I love my friends so much, and we study at the same school, at the same classroom. So we are working around like parks and entertainment centers and doing fun there. Also, I love watching different movies, and of course I do some hobbies. I have some hobbies, so I do it in free time. That's it.
So as Kate said, she likes to hang with her friends like anyone else would. One thing that she was telling me about earlier that a lot of her friends will do is this thing called Olympia, which is kind of like an academic taflon. It's probably what's the closest thing to describe it in America. So I know you said this is not a required thing for students, right? They don't have to do this in order to graduate.
Yes.
But a lot still choose to do it? Or
Students don't choose to do it; it's choose their teachers.
and why is it such a big deal for the teachers?
Get an additional weekend on their when they are on vacation.
Right. And the reason for that is this competition. It is different schools competing against one another. And what are some of the big topics that these Olympiads focus on?
All subjects. We
Okay.
have Olympiads from all subjects, like from, for example, history and math and this.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's all subjects.
And which types of Olympiads have you competed in, Kate?
In English.
And so, how does an English Olympia work?
In 10th grade, I didn't like it, but in 11th grade, I was 2 times. So in 11th grade, I liked it more. Because I met a lot of nice people there, and they were all nice and a lot talkative,
Mhm.
and we find similar subjects to talk. And these students from other schools were so nice, yeah. So, we were doing tests and encouraging each other. We were there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And there was listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The scariest part is speaking because you need like eye to eye speak with your teacher, with these teachers, and everyone is looking at you. But still, thanks to people that I met, they were encouraging me, and I was encouraging them. So I heard that other Olympiads, like for example from history, is everything is serious. There nobody is talking with each other. They all like mean and they're like I beat you and it's yeah like so English Olympiad is exception. English Olympiad is good.
Mhm. So, yeah, she said the English Olympia, it's a very friendly competition.
Yeah.
Even though these schools are trying to kick the other's butt,
Yeah.
the students are still trying to be very encouraging to one another. So when you go for this competition, what do you have to do for it?
As I said, you need to write the tests.
Okay. You also mentioned you had to give a presentation, like orally too, right?
Yeah, it's speaking test. So you have there are 6 students and 3 teachers. So when your turn, so you take 3 pieces of paper, and there's a number of your topics. For example, 1, 2, 3, and you choose number 2. And you read all the topics, and you choose number 2, and you read this topic to the teachers and others. So then you need to speak about it for 3 to 5 minutes, and then students after you speak, after you spoke everything, students ask you a question, one question.
The other students get to ask you a question?
Yeah, they need to
Okay.
ask you a question
About the topic?
about the topic, and you
And you
need
get
to answer.
So you see, it's all just designed to help them practice their English. And then after all is said and done, prizes are given out. And who gets these prizes, Kate?
After this Olympiad, the same day, there is a score, and who got the highest score. For example, there is 3 places. So who got the first place, he gets money.
And how much money does he get?
1,000
Grivna. Okay.
And second and third also gets money, but lower amount.
Sure.
And others just the losers.
They don't get anything
Yeah.
other than the pride of having competed and knowing that they at least can speak English.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that it's the person with the highest score. So how do you score points at this Olympiad? What are they judging you on when you're giving your presentation?
So they judging your grammar, your fast speaking, like your how many words you know, and how you can like explain the subject. So they judging your speaking like that. Writing, reading, and listening is easier to like judge and check because there's like a ready right answers, so it's easier. So there is a score in the internet, and you can look how many like how many you get like marks, like the amount of there's like a biggest amount is 100, so you can see how much. It's not 100, like
Okay.
it's 30. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
30. It's the biggest amount. So you can see how many. For example, for writing, you can get 20. And it's not bad, and it's not good.
Right.
And for this amount of this grades you for this what you get, there's like who is the best, who was the best, and yeah, that's it. So I was 31st. I was 34th
Mhm.
first. Yeah, it's not that good, but it was in 11th grade. But in 10th grade, I was 11. Yeah, I was 11 in this course, so I get my place. I get third place, and
Let's know that.
yeah, and I got my certificate that I did it.
And obviously, the placement or the points scored don't really communicate how good these students are when it comes to the topic or how well they know English and can speak English. You see with Kate, she does it very well. The judges just didn't appreciate that as much as they should have. It sounds like. So, Kate, if I had to ask you to describe what is just your favorite part in general of being a Ukrainian student, what would you say?
What is the funnest thing? I think my classmates, because they became my second family. I know them for 11 years.
Mhm.
So I really love them, and we have a lot of fun together. We have a lot of like little flash mobs together, and
That's great.
yeah, we became a real family. Yeah, so it's the funniest part, and I really will be sad when I will end school. I will be missing them so much.
Well, she just answered my next question. What are you going to miss most about being a student when you graduate? It's
My
classmates.
classmates.
And I've seen that just in the months I've been here, what Kate is talking about, just how close knit, fellow students are with one another. It really is a close bond. It does seem like family. Ukrainians in general tend to be very caring towards others, very warm, friendly people. And yeah, when you get on their good side, they definitely treat you like family. And it's an amazing, amazing thing to be experiencing and to be a part of. So we should really, I think, take some tips on what it means to be a close knit group. Sometimes it can be very humorous too. I know when I'm teaching my students in EWA, we're trying to play a game sometimes. I'll split the students up into different teams, and obviously they're competing against one another. But there'll be, sometime one team is struggling to figure something out, another team is trying to help them with the answer. It's like you do realize you're trying to beat them, right? But that's just how it is here. Ukrainians are just very friendly. They want to help each others out whenever they can, and again, it's just really, really fun to see. So I want to do something a little fun now, just in case there's any doubt in anyone's mind that Kate is in fact a Ukrainian because of how good her English is. So Kate, would you be willing to just say whatever sentence you want, first in English, then in Ukrainian, and then in Russian?
Okay.
Go ahead. Just
what to say?
You pick a sentence that you know in all three languages.
Okay. So I love America as Ukraine.
Okay.
And in Russian and Ukrainian.
Yeah, Russian and Ukrainian.
Я люблю Америку так же, как и Украину. И я люблю Америку так, як Украину.
Impressive stuff, right? So I've said they need to come to America and teach us how to educate people. So, because like I said, by the time they hit 17, they're ready to be on their own. They're ready to be independent, ready to go out in the wide world and make a name for themselves. So, I'm very impressed. Well, Kate, thank you for your time with us today. Said if you have any questions or comments about this video or about anything more you'd like to know about student life or life in Ukraine in general, please go ahead. Post that in the comment section below. Please feel free to subscribe. I only have a handful of subscribers right now, and I'm definitely looking for more. So please go ahead. And like I said, don't be afraid to share your thoughts, questions, or comments, about what you might like to see in the future with this series. We're just getting started with it. I know you have the time right now because you're locked inside your homes for the most part. So take time, enjoy the video. Just thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. So goodbye.
Bye.
What is goodbye in Ukrainian, Kate?
Бувайте.
Buvite. And how about, and there's also do побачення, right?
Huh?
До побачення.
Да, до
Це
побачення.
бачення вже.
Побачення.